We're rolling.
So part of developing prosperity consciousness is to develop an consciousness. There are seats up here. Only if you want your money to show up when you want it to show up and not late. So I encourage you to claim your time in your life, to have dominion over time. And we'll learn how to stretch it and how to manipulate it. But part of that is established in consciousness. So come in to the seat. Signing in is not as important as being in. Isn't that good? Yes. So come in. Welcome, Bob. I'm proud of you with your broken bones. Yay, come on in. Find a seat. Come on up. You want a seat up here? Come up. And we always begin in consciousness because the outer is always a reflection of the inner. So we begin this class 2 of the Summer Prosperity Series in consciousness by knowing that God is in this place, in every heart, in every mind, in every life, in every demonstration and manifestation and blessing and healing. God is. Because whatever God is all that there is. There's a presence and a power and a life and a love, a prosperity, a health, a wholeness, and an expansion of freedom that is God itself. And each and every one of us is manifested out of that abundance and prosperity of God. There is no limit to us. And so I know that we come together to open up to a greater awareness of who we are. That right here and right now, we always have more than enough. More than enough money, more than enough time, more than enough opportunity, more than enough ideas, more than enough friends, more than enough connections. We have more than enough because we are created out of an expanding consciousness of infinite substance and supply. So I claim that for each and every one of us right here and right now. I know that we open in consciousness to a greater awareness of who we are and what life is about, that we demonstrate and manifest easily and quickly in our lives, and we get that we are the captains of our ship and we determine our destiny. We set spiritual law in motion, and we reap the harvests of that activity. So with great gratitude and thanksgiving for all that Summer Prosperity Series holds for us, I simply release this treatment into the mind of God, into the bank account of God, into the pocket of God, into the body of God, into the life of God, because it's all God, as together we say, and so it is. Welcome. We all look a little different than we did last week. So welcome to class 2 of the Summer Prosperity class at Center for Spiritual Living. This class is called The Path to Wealth, and this class does in fact have a book. My book does not have the dust cover on it, so it looks a little different, but there are reading assignments for this class. There is homework in the book for this class that is done every day. So I encourage you, if you don't have your book yet, you can, 1, purchase it from the bookstore for a grand total of $20.28. You can go to iBooks and get it digitally for $10. You can go to Amazon, get it digitally for $10, or you can go to barnesandnoble.com and download it as a notebook for $11. Whatever you do, you're going to want to have this book. There are sheets that we are working on that we are doing every morning, and there are hard copies of those sheets out on the sign-in table. So if you were not here last week, or if you don't have access to the emails that were sent out last Tuesday, You can get one or more of those sheets so that you can start your work in the morning. Please write your email address legibly on the sign-in sheet so that we can then email you the forms that you're going to want to use. How many of you got an email last week? Wasn't that great? I got it. I messed around with it, reformatted it so I could poke holes in the paper, and then I printed them out and put them in a book. I made myself a book. It's fantastic. It is. And every day, this is my purpose statement, my commitment letter. Remember it said to do that? I'm sure you all have. And then every day, I fill it out, and I do my gratitude letter, and I have my meeting. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I encourage you to give yourself the opportunity to open up to an idea that has proven itself to demonstrate millions and millions of dollars for lots of people. So if you don't want that, I don't understand. There is a reading assignment sheet out on the sign-in sheet table. So if you don't know what you're supposed to be reading, grab this. A lot of people just read the whole book. It's an easy read. It's a fun book. But every week we will be using the reading assignments. And if you were here last week and you thought you wrote your email address down and you didn't get the homework, write your email address down a little bit more clearly and write a note on it that says, didn't get my homework, so that Nancy can go and find out what email address we have created yours from last week to be, because somebody somewhere is getting your homework and we want it to be you. Do you have any questions about that? The class is a 7-week class, and this is class 2. Last week was the fire walk. How many people were here at the fire walk? Pretty freaking amazing, considering that we lit that fire in a downpour. Not only just a downpour, a deluge. And still we had an amazing fire walk. There are coals out there still. There's still a little jar out there, probably full of water by now, with baggies and a spoon. And if you want to take a baggie and scoop some of your coals out into the baggie, you can take it home with you. The first time I did a fire walk, I took the coals and had them put in plastic. I had a plastic box with my coals in it so that I could have them without getting dirty, you know, and keep them around so that I can keep reminding myself that that was real, that I can do anything, and that it doesn't matter what the circumstances or the conditions are in life, that whatever we set our intention on manifests. So if you want to do something like that, or if you just want to have them for a little while till they disintegrate, you're more than welcome to get them. I think that's it. How many of you have been at summer prosperity classes here before? Wonderful. How many of you have not? Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. So part of what we do at Center for Spiritual Living Asheville over the summer is we create money. Now, money is not necessarily synonymous of prosperity. But I tell you, money is fun. Money is countable, it's holdable. You know you didn't have it yesterday and you have it today. You can see it and you can watch it show up in very interesting ways. So this is our 20th prosperity class. This is our 20th. We've done it every year. And we have tweaked our increased income program a little bit over the years, but the affirmation is generally the same. And what I want you to know is that through this center, through this program, we had someone win the North Carolina Powerball. We have had 2 people given houses. We have had people be given automobiles. We have had checks come back from hospital visits from over 10 years ago, insurance audits from years ago. We had someone last year who was notified by a company that they worked for over 20 years ago that they had reached retirement age, and even though they had only worked at that company a short while, they were notified that they would be getting a pension for the rest of their lives, and that that pension was transferable to their daughter for the rest of her life. So, get ready. I mean, you thought that the firewalk was amazing, and it was, but the amazingness has not stopped. So this is the way our increased income program works. You do not have to join it. You absolutely do not have to. You can watch everybody else have money. But if you do join it, there's a deal. And the deal is that you do your treatment for increased income at least once a day. I would recommend doing it 100 times a day. I would recommend memorizing it and just using it as an ongoing mantra chant. You do your treatment every day, and then you sign this "Put Me on the List" form, which states that you are committing to not only do your treatment every week, not only coming to class every week, not only doing your homework every week, but that whatever increase you have show up in your life, you are committing to tithe 10% of that increase to this center, so that you are beginning to practice, if you don't already, practice the spiritual principle, art, and law of tithing that then sets law in motion and generates more income for you. Now this is on the increase income, where you get up here and say, oh my God, I just got this amount of money in the mail. I had no idea it was coming. Or I thought my house was going to sell for this, and then there was a bidding war and it sold for $30,000 more than that. That's the increase. We used to have it called the unexpected income program, and the phrase that you had to have for it to count was, wow, I never expected that. So this is not playing games. This is not trying to make something count that doesn't count. This is really, wow, I had no idea that that money was going to show up in my life. And why I like to use money in this class, other than it's a prosperity class, but I tell you, I've been to prosperity workshops where they never talk about money. I find that odd. The reason I like to use money is because it's fun. It's exciting. And I don't care if I'm finding a penny or if I'm finding tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. I did that. And I can look at that and say, I thought a thought, I spoke a word, I felt a feeling, I had an intention, and I can hold it in my hand. And during the course of this class, it will happen over and over and over again. So if you want to be part of this increased income program, I'm going to go ahead and pass these around and let you fill them out. Tear them off, because, you know, there are just certain ways I like to start my class, and I haven't been able to do it yet. So we got to come up to speed with this. Come in, come in. Who's got an empty chair next to them? I have a chair. So it says, stay with me. Here's how it works. On the next panel is your treatment for increased income. Begin and end each day by reading it aloud, and you will set universal law into motion to receive your increased income. Hello, Valerie. Hi. Let's just avert it. Come on in, get a seat. Everyone in the program will work daily for all who wish to participate. Together we will create wonderful demonstrations of our faith to be included in the prosperity program. Submit the form entitled "Put Me on the List" to Center for Spiritual Living Asheville. We're doing that right now. Laura, have you got a seat? Okay. Come on in, Kathy. Who's got a seat for Kathy? Right here up by Kate. So make sure the people who just came in have their increased income brochure. Because this is one of the most fun things I do. To be able to have that excitement that you, Annie, are you leaving? You leaving? We're about to do increased income. Okay. Everybody's a choice. It is so exciting for me to have people really get the connection between thought and thing. And I don't know of anything that gives people more of a charge than money. You know, occasionally you'll have someone, facing a terminal illness or something, and their report coming back that they're completely benign and healthy and whole is a wonderful experience. But we don't want to do that for everybody. So money is a good tool. You can have so much fun with $5 that you didn't know was going to find its way to you. And then once you get the $5, as you open up, then it's 50, then it's 500, then it's 5,000, as you practice experiencing, accepting the good that is already here for you. I want to fill mine out. So when you take these off of this brochure and you hand them in, John and I take them. We take them and we keep them with us no matter what. These are going to Denver in the morning. And when John and I do our spiritual practice in the mornings, we get old-timey. And we hold them in our hand, all four hands, holding over these, doing our treatment for increased income, blessing them, blessing everybody who's involved in this, knowing that we all prosper together. We need two chairs for Drew and Amanda. Is that right? Did I get the names right?
Yeah.
So have you filled them out? Now you're only going to send in the part that has your signature and your name and address on them. You're going to keep the part that has the treatment. Why are you going to keep the part that has the treatment? So you can do treatment. So please don't just throw the whole brochure. Well, don't pass it up, because we're going to take it up. Is everybody ready? Yes. No, I want to do a basket. I want you to pass up your forms. I'm going to pass up the forms. Pass them up. And I want you to know that you are joining with people who have been in this class for 20 years. We have had demonstrations other than money. We had someone last year who was estranged with their child and was reunited. Things that money can't buy. So pass up the sheets. Everybody pass up the sheets. Did everybody get their sheets filled out? If you have not filled your sheets out yet, then go ahead and fill them out. Please read the whole brochure so you know what you're getting into. Because the deal is, if you're in this program, that you are going to come to class. You're going to do your reading, you're going to do your homework, you're going to do the exercises of the morning Chief Spiritual Officer meeting, and you're going to do your treatment for increased income at least twice a day. I would recommend that you commit it to memory and just sing in the shower, drive down the road, do whatever you want to set spiritual law in motion. So, are there any others that have to come up? Got them? Okay, everybody open up your brochure to the treatment.
Here comes another one.
And my question always to you is, are you ready?
Yes!
Are you ready to have what you want to have?
Yes!
Are you ready to have more money than you know what to do with?
Yes!
Are you ready to go where you want to go?
Yes!
Buy what you want to buy?
Yes!
Do what you want to do?
Yes!
Be who you were meant to be?
Yes!
Get up out of your chairs
Source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
Train has left the station. There is no turning back. Center class. So don't go to what's different, go to what's the same. We are opening in consciousness. We are doing it together to large amounts of money. And just because we are starting this tonight does not mean that demonstrations have not already happened. So I want the people who have had demonstrations for this to line up and share in the mic right now. Come on up. Come on up. Speak clearly, Eric. Eric, just move your cursor still really tall. Come on up, line up. Look at this, look at this. It's already happened. Go ahead, Eric.
All right, here we go. Today I have a customer call up customer called me up today and wanted me to clean out his apartment. The whole family is moving to Seattle, so I go over there and clean it out. He says, whatever's there is yours. There's furniture, there's even food in the fridge. I'm like, this is great. Look at all kinds of furniture, cleaning stuff, all kinds of electronics, and a bunch of free food.
Turn it up, David. Yeah, wait for me.
Okay, so I am doing this project. It has a lot of mini projects.
We can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh,
So I'm doing this project that has a lot of mini projects involved in it, and it's going to be, it'll involve publicity and hiring people and so on and so forth. So there's going to be fundraising involved, and I had just started to think about that when someone I know said, I've got a distribution I have to take and some money I have, and I see what you're doing, and so would a contribution between $5,000 and $10,000 help?
Barbara, that one's working.
no, it's not.
Is it turned on? Is there numbers in the screen?
Yeah. That's all right, let's just do this. Okay.
Speak into the mic, Darcy.
I went to work last week and I did a spiritual mind treatment before I left, as I do every morning. And part of my spiritual mind treatment, I declared that people wanted to give me money that day. Well, I've been in the office about 15 minutes and a girl from HR came up to me and she said, I have a good surprise for you. And I said, what is that? And she said, you never cashed your Christmas bonus from December, and she handed me a check for $1,300.
I lost my job 3 weeks ago, so I was pretty devastated that what will happen. I couldn't wait until this class started, so I started 2 weeks ago. On my own, I read the book in one night. I started all the treatment. I spent 3-4 hours a day to talking to God, doing all the work. And today I have a freelancing job, $50 per hour. I have somebody ordered a painting from me, and I got $500 from one of my
Okay, Sandy and I are going to do this together because together we were unemployed for numerous months up until 2 weeks ago. And we both got a job at the same place, and it's beautiful.
I lived in Long Beach, California a year ago. It'll be August 8th, it'll be a year I've been here. On Memorial Day last year, I was crossing the street and a car hit me. So it wasn't too bad. I had a lot of scrapes, lacerations and stuff. But yesterday I got a check for $5,858.
Wow, I have a whole lot to tell you. I'll try to be short, right? I've been working on prosperity for a long time, but when Barbara came out with the freedom treatment a while ago, it was what really spoke to me, because I knew that I needed to free myself of my house, my yard, and all of my stuff. So I have done that. I sold my house in 2 days for asking price with a cash deal. And then I had an estate sale and sold about, 90% of what I have, what I own. And in the midst of all that, I found out that the Replacements Limited, where you can sell your china, is over there in Greensboro, so I didn't have to pack it up. I just drove it over. Came home with $830.
Nice.
I was cleaning out a box that said Janine's keepsakes on it, which I have been carrying across the country for I don't know how many years. And my daughter said, "You made me clean mine out, you have to clean yours out." One Sunday night, I started to go through it because I thought, oh, it might be fun to have some memories. And there was an envelope in there, and when I dumped it out, there was jewelry in there from my great uncle, which I had no idea, with appraisals. And I thought, wow, so the next morning I just went up to Allen's just to kind of see what they would say, and they took the biggest gold piece and had a couple of diamonds. Anyway, I came out of there with $560. I got a check from the Ohio State Teachers Retirement Association. Well, I taught school in Ohio in 1970 and 71. And they found me in a different state with a different name, because I've taken my maiden name back. And I guess it was because of the age that's approaching in January, and it clicked in the computer. They said, "You have to take this money." So it was a big $17 and change. It's been fun. I had an estate sale. I sold almost everything. And everybody wants to know what I'm doing. And when I listened to Barbara on Sunday, when I close my house on August the 6th, my mortgage will be paid. I will have no house to take care of, no yard to take care of. The credit card debt, which I unfortunately have accumulated, will be paid. And I will be totally free with no responsibility except me and my dog. Because I can basically go and do what I want. And as I'm doing that, money's going to come so that I can do even more. So to that end, I have one step left, and that's to take the things that I have kept and move them to a storage locker on Saturday, and I need some help. I have...
Ask for what you want when you want it.
I want it Saturday. I don't care what time, we can work that out. I need a pickup truck because I have a big, I have a queen mattress and a big base under it, and 3 smaller chairs and about 40 boxes. So I'm thinking a pickup truck, maybe a couple SUVs, minivans, whatever you have. I really, really, really would appreciate your help. It won't take all day, because there's not much. It's gonna go from Woodfin to Bent Creek. Very simple. Thank you very much.
It was dusk and I looked down and on the floor of, well, the ground under my carport, I saw something, I picked it up, it was a penny. But that was fine with me, it's just a start.
I wasn't even here last week, so I wasn't aware of all of the stuff that was going on. But I started reading the book this morning, and I got through quite a bit of it. It really is a good book. And I thought, well, I'm gonna start applying some of this stuff. So I did a treatment this morning. In the mail this afternoon, I received a check from, I really don't know who it's from. I don't recognize, it said something about Luvant's health system or something like that. And the little note on it said for PT. Well, I haven't had PT for probably 7 or 8 years now, because I haven't needed it. But it was a check for $45.
Earlier in the week, I asked my father to, or last week, to mail me something, and I opened it the other day, and he had slipped in a $100 bill. And then I also got 2 new students last week that I didn't expect at all because it's summer, so most students don't want to study math at this point. And I had 2 sessions already last week. So.
About 2 weeks ago, my Kirtan group played for the Yoga Fest, and we just did it as Seva, as a love offering. Well, Sunday night I went to yoga class, and one of the players said, oh, by the way, here's $40 from the Yoga Fest that we played for. That was unexpected. I had a client that I've had for a few years, and she usually tips me about $20, but this week she tipped me like $80.
That's low.
So this time last year, on Saturday, will be 1 year since I made a very big change in my responsibilities for the company that I've worked for the last 16 years. It was not in good shape, needed some love, and I have lots of that to give. And so I had a call last week from a fellow executive director who said, well, it looks like you're going to get a really nice bonus in August. And I said, what are you talking about? Because I am used to the annual bonus and not a twice a year bonus. He said, well, because he has access to my financials, which we're going to change, but it's really nice to receive the message from him. And so he took me into the system to check it out, and because the performance in this community is so much improved, 477% greater performance than year over year, whatever that means. I'm going to a financial class Wednesday and Thursday. I'll let y'all know next Monday what that means. It just does mean for me almost $11,000 bonus.
Mary and I are planning to do our almost 20 years together, and we're celebrating. And so I'm hiring a caterer, and my friend Judith said, well, I want to help you with the catering bill. And I said, no. And so she said, yeah, I want to give you $75. And I said, well, you don't even eat that much, you know? But I know that, you know, I've been taught in prosperity classes not to turn down when somebody gives you something, even if you don't want it, give it to somebody else. But I did want the $75. And I kept it, and then I got a text from her the next morning that said she wasn't really clear why she was giving it to me when she gave it to me, but after doing the homework from the class, she realized that Mary and I had fed her spiritually, and she wanted to tithe to us.
I'm an actor, and my agent called me this morning and told me that I booked a role in an industrial that's filming down in Charleston for one scene that will take maybe an hour or two to film, and it'll be $560. I have clocked 400 hours this month at my job that I absolutely love, including sleep hours, and I get paid for all of them. I've received $800 for pet sitting this month on top of that. Okay, I've got a little list. I had 2 unexpected interviews, and one of them is a part-time, do it on your own time, at home, travel, whatever, with a huge potential, so that sounds very interesting to me. I got a new client today at a class that I went to that I get to go to at Mission, and they feel that you need improvement with your communication skills. They send you to a communication class, so this is the 3rd one I've been to so far. I was approached by a nurse who said, you know, you're so wise. She goes, I'd like to talk to you one-on-one about communication. And so I was like, sure, and I gave her my card. So I'm about to receive the biggest tithe ever from a private client, so I'm very proud of that. The injury of my hand is complete, and the insurance company is sending me the check this week. I thought that I had lost a Samsung tablet. I had 4 people look for it in my car, and right before I was just about to text Barbara and ask her to announce it at the class, and I went to go sit down, and it was just right there, just materialized. Eric scored me a new bed just in time for a huge real estate rental that we have coming up, so that was perfect timing. I got news today of 2 side jobs, and my rental income this month is, I don't know, maybe 10 times what it's ever been in the past.
So my boss wanted something done and said, if you get this done, I'll give you $100. And just for the hell of it, I was like, well, why not 2? And it's like, okay, if you get it done before the end of the month, you can have 2. If you get it done after the end of the month, you get 1. I got it done the 1st of July, so technically after the end of the month. And for some reason, he gave me $300.
Fun or what?
Yes, it was. Why do we do this? How do you feel?
Because celebrating brings you more.
What, Deborah?
Because celebrating brings you more.
Celebrating what?
Celebrating brings in more.
Brings in more. When you celebrate something, it brings in more. There's a chair here. If you want to come up, there's a chair over there. You want to come up?
2 together on the middle.
Where's 2 together? Right here.
Over here.
So when we demonstrate what we want, it goes into this big hopper inside of us, individually and collectively, that we can call subjective mind or our unconscious or our belief systems, or however you want to describe it. It goes into us. And whether you got up and shared or not, keeping in mind that we just started this program a few minutes ago, and look at what has happened so far, whether you got up and shared or not, you got that. You got that, whether it's the $17 from the Ohio school system back in the early 70s, whether it's the final insurance settling for the accident or whatever it was, you got that that's floating around. And what I want you to do in this class is open up your net of receptivity. I don't want you to be all closed down. The universe is trying to give it to you and you're going, no, I deserve it. No, open up, put a net out there. Start catching everything that goes by you, because there is money looking for you. There is good looking for you. There's opportunity looking for you. There are people looking for you. You have destinies with people. You have events. What else did we have? Didn't we have some kind of a business that's coming out of all of this too? Whether it's money, whether it's opportunity, whatever. David?
This morning, a Brinks truck spilled money all over 385 in
There is so much money. There is more than enough money for you to have more money than you could dream possible, and for there still to be plenty for everybody else. If you are looking for a teaching that says you're supposed to divest yourself of your worldly possessions, nothing against your downsizing, Janine. You're downsizing because you want to experience freedom. If you're looking for a teaching that says money is bad, things are bad, you're not supposed to have a good time in life, you're supposed to get rid of all that you have because somewhere there's someone starving, this ain't it. Just right off the top, this is not it. What this says is that we are one, and that the global consciousness of humanity is uplifted with your demonstrations of prosperity, that you lift people up by having more. Who is the wealthiest man in the world? Bill Gates. What is he doing? He's giving it away. The first thing he did was eradicate malaria. Could he have done that if he was worrying about making his car payment? No, he might have had lofty goals. He might have had a real sense of wanting to do something in the world, but until he mastered money, he couldn't do anything other than take care of himself. So what I want you to do is learn how to not only take care of yourself, but learn how to really lift and expand your ability to have. Not so that you can keep it. You never keep money. And unless you're stuffing it in your mattress and sleeping in it, you're not keeping it. What you're doing is you're circulating it, you're moving it. And anybody who knows anything about economies, no, it's really not the amount of money. You have the same amount of money, whether you have a high economy or a low economy. It's how fast does it move. And the more that you move it, the more that you spend it, the more that you bring it in, the more that you deposit it, the more that you write a check on it, the more that you celebrate it, the more money there is. Because $1 can go to everybody in this room. And everybody will have gotten $1. And it's just $1. So don't worry about there not being enough. There is more than enough. There's more than enough food to feed everyone on the planet. There's more than enough water for everyone on the planet to have clean drinking water. There's more than enough wood to build a mansion for every man, woman, and child on the planet in one forest in Russia. There's more than enough money for every person in the world to have over $3 million in cash. Where's yours? Life is trying to find you. Becca, I got $3 million for you. Where are you? And if you go like that, it will find you. If you go like that, it will find you. If you say, oh, I don't think I've worked hard enough in this life to deserve that. You know, that money is for those kinds of people. We're going to look at all of those ideas that people have that keep us wanting and not getting. It's perfectly okay to want. One of the great things I love about this book is it says, go ahead and want. Give a list. Write it out every day. Whatever it is you want. Doesn't matter how big it is, doesn't matter how small it is. You are supposed to want. And then I love, somebody posted something about, saying about Abraham recently that said, you are going to want continuously for the rest of your life. It's a good thing. Want it, come into vibrational alignment with having it, which is through your gratitude work. Get it, and then you're going to want something else. I've heard the story about the boat for so long. The person on the side of the road wants a bridge, gets on a bridge, then they want a rowboat, get the rowboat, want a motorboat, get a motorboat, then they want a bigger boat, then they want a yacht. As if that's bad. Ask the people with the yacht if that's bad. It's not bad. That's told from the perspective of the person still standing on the side of the road. What you want to do is come into alignment with what it is you want. And I have this wonderful idea that says God did not show up on planet Earth to be poor as you. God did not show up to be poor as you. So whenever you get these intuitive hits, wow, I like that. I have a dog that is into bling. Bliss will try to take the rings right off your fingers. It's an earring. And I thought, if she gets to have a thing for jewelry, certainly it's okay for me to have a thing for jewelry. You are supposed to appreciate beauty in life. You're supposed to experience it. You're supposed to taste the tastes of life, to see the visions of life. You're supposed to go places and do things. You're supposed to laugh and love and be lifted up. You are not supposed to struggle. You are not supposed to suffer. You are not supposed to do without thinking that somehow you're earning brownie points in heaven. It's not true. Sometimes I think we're going to step over to the other side and go, wow, I could have lived on Maui and I just didn't think it was possible. And we have all of our angels and spirit guides and all of that going, we had your house. It was so close. You almost made it to Maui. You didn't make it to Maui? Go back and try it again. They call us the Prosperity Church in Asheville.
Good.
Yes, that is our name, the Prosperity Church, because we expect you to be rich. We expect you to be master of your life, not to be enslaved to outer circumstances. We do cool things as a group. We build wells and orphanages and schools in the world. We do things to lift up consciousness, but we would never be able to do that if we didn't have a surplus. So your job over the next 43 days, is that right? It's a 7-week class. We've already used one. That makes 6. 6 times 7 is 42 plus 1 extra day. Over the next 43 days, your mission, should you choose to accept it. Some people will say it's impossible. Don't listen to them. Your mission is to have money. Your mission is to go to the restaurants that you usually say, oh, no, I don't want to go to that one. I'll go to Subway. Nothing wrong with Subway. But if you want to go somewhere, your job is to go there. If you want to get something, your job is to get it. However, I am not advocating going out and mortgaging yourself up to the hilt. Someone came to me once and said, well, I've followed everything you said, and now I have $40,000 on my credit card. God does not need your credit card. If you think the only way to get it is to charge it, and then somehow miraculously, Spirit's going to show up and pay your credit card bill, but the thought that precipitated that is, I don't have the cash, so I'm going to charge it, that thought is what will demonstrate the I don't have the cash. So I am not telling you to go charge up credit cards. If you have credit card debt, get that treatment for freedom that's out on the Welcome Center and say it every day and let go of your debt. You were not created to be in debt. I think it's even biblical. There's something in the Old Testament that says, don't be a borrower. Because you don't need to be a borrower. If you want to create it all the way. Anybody can go buy a car and make payments. Create the pink slip, if it's pink anymore. Create your mortgage being paid off. And now, you look at these people going, is that possible? $3 million. Is all of your debt more than $3 million? Just your even Steven, what is due you is $3 million. So if you're not over that, then you're just needing to just open up to what is already yours. Your $3 million. Your job is to be the amazing spiritual being you were always meant to be. This is Center for Spiritual Living. Being spiritual is being joyous. People say, well, what about Gandhi? Gandhi did all this great work and he didn't have anything. I remember a quote from Nehru once talking to Gandhi. He says, it takes a lot of money to keep this man poor. Well, what about Mother Teresa? She had a lot. She had a lot of buildings, a lot of staff, a lot of stuff. What about Jesus? Jesus had a treasurer. When do you need a treasurer? When you have money. When you have money. Jesus had a seamless garment. People poured oil on his feet to get the dust off. There is so much that is due you right now. And it's like life is just trying to give it to you, to get you, to find you, to hold you down long enough to give you all the good stuff you're supposed to have. And so many of us have been brought up in a mindset that says, oh, being spiritual is wonderful, but money is bad. No, money is great. Money is fantastic. There was a book I used to have called Money is My Friend. Money is my friend. I like money. And I encourage you to establish a relationship with money. Lynn's always got her list. She came up with the list. Everybody laughed because she's always got her list because so many things happen to her during a week that she's got to write it all down to keep track of it. Have friends with money. Enjoy the beautiful things in life. Go sit in a Lexus or a Jaguar or, what do we got now? Porsche dealership right down the street. Tesla. Are we selling Teslas in Asheville now?
They'll bring it to you.
So whatever it is you want to do, I want you to start opening up to that idea of it. And if you have issues about money, I want you to get some. I don't care how much it is. I don't care what denomination it is. Put it in your pocket. Carry it around. Feel it in your hands. And I know that a lot of people now are all about debit cards and things like that. So that's good. Whatever works for you. For me, I like money. I collect $100 bills and gold coins. John has made me put all of my gold in a safety deposit box in the bank. He was getting very nervous with it in the house. But he still lets me collect stacks of $100 bills and keep them around. Because I like them. I like to put them in my bed and sleep with them. I like to hold them in my hand. I like to smell money. If it's sweaty, go ahead and wash it. It's okay. But I like the smell of money. There's a unique smell to money. I like the smell of money. If you're not in a position where you're collecting $100 bills, get a bunch of $1 bills. Have a stack of money. Put it in your pocket. Put it in your wallet. So every time you open up your wallet, money's just exploding out of it. Take your bank statement, put a little white out on it, or write in $1 million in front of your balance. Put it up where you can see it. Jim Carrey and Jack Canfield both wrote themselves out a check. Jim Carrey's was for $10 million. And he dated it. Yep. And he kept it in his wallet. And it was Ace Ventura, wasn't it?
Yep.
Ace Ventura 2. And they sent him a check for $10 million. Jack Canfield wrote out a check for $100,000 and taped it to the ceiling of his bedroom so that every morning when he opened up his eyes, he saw it. He made $4,000 the year before. He made, I think, $98,000 the next year. And it wasn't the 100,000, all right, but the next check he wrote was $1 million, and the check from Chicken Soup for the Soul Publishers was exactly $1 million to him. They put a smiley face on it, yes. This is real stuff. You are creating your experience the same way that you walked on coals last week. If you did that and you were not burned, you are creating your experience. So many of us are so used to creating poverty, and we surround ourselves with people who go, oh yeah, well that's the way that it is. You know, you gotta scrimp by, and there's more a month left than the end of your money, and there's just barely getting by. Well, that's just the way life is. No, we can just as easily create prosperity as poverty, but we have to focus on it. We have to get a hold of our thoughts. And that's why when I say make this treatment for increased income a mantra, because I don't want you thinking anything else. I don't want you thinking anything else. I don't really want you watching TV. I'm not going to mandate it. Years gone by, I had everybody turn off their cable, and John said, please don't do that anymore. I want to come home and watch TV. So consider that the stuff going in your mind from the television is keeping you poor. Consider that. Unless you're going to watch the tales of the rich and famous, or the actor over there saying, hey, well, wait a minute here. Don't engage in conversations. It's 43 days. You can almost hold your breath that long. Do not engage in conversations about how the world's going to hell in a handbasket, the politicians are all crooked, there's not enough. Don't do that. If you hear that, turn it around into an affirmation. I love what Wallace Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich says. The world is perfect, but not complete. It's perfect, but it's not done yet. So if something is going awry in the world and people want to talk about it, just understand it's a half-baked cake. We're not done yet. That there's good in there. That it's bringing forth a consciousness that is lifting everyone up into a world where there is plenty, where there is safety and love and joy and peace and happiness. And that is the world that we create. But I guarantee you, nobody's creating anything if you can't create money. Money is spirituality 101. People think it's meditation. It's not. It's money. Because if you are so busy worried about money, you are not living a spiritual life. And to blame it on some God that says that deity must want me to be poor is just a cop-out. It's just laziness. Take charge of your thoughts. Take charge of your feelings. Take charge of your actions. If you want something, experience it. If you want a new car, go sit in it. Get a picture of it. Put it up. Do your affirmations. Write it on your letter. We're going to talk about the letter after the break. Do things that will create that and bring it into your life, and then watch. Wow, this showed up. Chris.
Several years back, we had a class on this.
Yes.
And in that class, we had checks that we were to write out.
Yeah.
And there was the lottery that was going on at that time, and it was 169 million. And I wrote 169 million on my check. And I still have my check, and every day I still think about that check. And I know that my 169 million is on its way.
Woohoo, it's here. It's here. You've already got it. You gotta buy a bigger boat.
$1,000 closer to it.
There you go. Well, the church across the street, one of their members a number of years ago won the $367,000 North Pole Powerball, whatever that was, or the lottery or something. What? 367 million. Yes, yes. They won the big lottery, and that person was a tither. So, hey, if they can do it over there, and they're talking in tongues and all of that, we can do it. Why am I making noise? Okay. do. So the commitment to have money show up like that, if you want to be part of this program with all these other money magnets, is that you're going to come to class. You're going to read the book. You're going to do the homework. You're going to have your letters with your chief spiritual officer or whatever it is you're calling it. You're going to have your meetings. You're going to do your gratitude. We're going to stretch it out even more. You're going to be doing your forgiveness work. You're going to be doing your treatment for increased income. And on the increased income, you are going to tithe 10% to this center. Now, if you want to play games and say, I'm going to reap the harvest, but I'm not going to fulfill my agreement, what I want you to know is karma's a bitch. Because what you're saying is that I'm going to hold on to my fear, and you've got all this power and this energy moving. No, I'm going to create fear. And what life says is fine. We will create things to be afraid of. So if you don't want to have more money in your life, this is not the place for you. However, you will not be able to create more money in your life and stay the same. It doesn't work. You have to change. You have to let go of that which you're afraid of. You have to let go of your limiting beliefs. You have to let go of being spiritually lazy. You have to let go of judgments of politicians. If you want to have more money, you have to stop being angry if you want to have more money. You have to let go of your story that says somehow you're poor and helpless and small and victimized if you want to have more money. So the longer that I teach, and I'm into about my 33rd year of being a teacher, the more I give you to do. Because what I see is that when I push you, you rally. And if I don't push you, what I'm saying is, oh, God is everywhere and always present except at the point of view. You're obviously just been left out of the whole spirit thing and you can't do anything, so I won't ask it of you. I don't see that at all. I see you as amazing, magnificent, glorious, spiritual beings, and you can reach your hand out and grab anything that you want. So what we're going to practice on is money, but I want to tell you that you will get so much more than money. And Liz, I'm just going to share what you shared with me during the break. A year ago, Liz Loman, like the stores in Miami. Liz Loman had completely numb feet. And her experience of walking on fire was... Her experience of walking on fire was that the feeling came back in her feet. And how long had they been numb?
Far out, about 14 years.
14 years. And what she shared with me tonight is that not only does she still have complete feeling in her feet after a year, but that pedicures are so painful because she's so ticklish. When you learn how to reach out and get what you want, you get it on every level. But to have something different in life, you can't hold on to the same old stuff. You have to be willing to shift it. So back to what I was talking about, those of you who came in late, we have a green brochure. If you want to be a part of this program, then fill it out. But I wanted you to know what you were getting into. But the benefits of being willing to train your thought, to decide how you're going to see the world, to monitor your speech, to only speak that which you wish to experience, to let go of complaining and move into gratitude, to setting spiritual law in motion and then opening up your eyes and looking for your good. The benefits of that is huge. It's huge. And yes, it shows up as an $11,000 bonus out of the blue. It shows up as somebody told me during the break, a $10 bill on their windshield wiper this morning. It shows up in all kinds of things. But the shift that happens inside of you is priceless. It's just priceless. Because first of all, you turn into a nice person. Yeah, thank you, Darcy, for the pizza. And by the way, in terms of being a nice person, Darcy often brings food, and the request is for some of you to stay and help clean up. We had one person after the fire walk who was here for like an hour cleaning up the kitchen. So those of you who can, jump in the kitchen and just let's clean it up so that we're not being unconscious. Part of this process is to become conscious of the blessings of our life, of the richness of this world, of all that is due us, and then to open up and cast a big net to catch all that's coming our way, to be able to take it and to accept it. So I love this class. I just love this class because so many people's lives change, so many things happen in it. And this year, we're working with this fantastic book called The Path to Wealth. The person who wrote this, May McCarthy, is a member of the Seattle Center for Spiritual Living.
Used to be my
Kathy Ann Lewis is the minister there, and May has used these teachings to create, I think it was 5 or 6 multi-million-dollar businesses. She's very wealthy. We're going to have her come here and speak.
All right.
And she said that she doesn't charge anything to come, that this teaching has given her so much that it is her delight to go anywhere or any group that wants to hear her teach these ideas. So probably in September or October, I think last time I looked on her website, she was booking in October, we'll have her come and talk to us. But in the meantime, get this. This isn't someone who said, oh, I need to make some money, I'm going to write a book on prosperity. That's not it. This is someone who has used these teachings to create opportunities and ideas that have resulted in large amounts of money. This is tried and true for her, and many other people have used this. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the nuances of this. One of the basic tenets of science of mind is oneness. That whatever God is, whatever spirit is, it's all that there is, and that means that each one of us is created out of God's stuff, spirit stuff, that we are a manifestation and individualization of spirit. However, it does not mean that we are a part of spirit. In order for there to be one, take a deep breath. I'm going to give you some quantum physics. Let it out. Take another deep breath and then breathe normally. I want you to have some oxygen in your brain. This idea of a unified field, that everything is connected with everything else, that there's only one thing going on. In order for there to be a oneness, then that oneness must exist in its entirety at every point. In order for there only to be one, the one has to exist as the whole one at every point. Interesting, because Troward said the same thing in the 1800s. So you're not a little part of God. Not to grant you don't have any idea who you are. We think we're physical forms. We think we're living on planet Earth. We think that maybe, wow, I'm going to raise my consciousness and get a little bit bigger. We're huge. We're out to the ends of the galaxies. We're all life, all intelligence. We are so much. I think sometimes people end up in, we don't call them insane asylums anymore. People end up being committed because they get a little bit bigger glimpse of what's really going on, and they don't have any context to handle it. And so they go what people call a little crazy. So I will grant you that you have a very limited viewpoint of who you are, and I just want us to expand it a little bit, which for you will be huge. Now, in this idea of oneness, it means that whatever God is, God's already inside of you. God is you as you. Now we have this chief spiritual officer. It's really close to this idea of an outside God. And so we want to be careful. And she even says in the book that because I am created out of this, she uses a lot of different words in there, this spiritual universal intelligence, then that which the chief spiritual officer is must be what I am. So she's moving into this idea of oneness, but sometimes, and I touched on this briefly yesterday, sometimes we can feel burdened with the responsibility of creating our lives. Sometimes it can feel like a heavy load to bear, and it's a nice little psychological game to have a chief spiritual officer to give it to. Because I don't know about you, but I know for me, I have not done well with micromanaging my demonstrations. I always do much better when I let it go. That's why there is a 5th step of spiritual mind treatment called release. Let it go. There is a wisdom inside of you that really can orchestrate all of these things and bring them together to have your good show up in your life. Liz had no idea for 14 years it was going to be walking on fire that brought her feet back into feeling. She didn't know that. But in one sense she did, though not consciously, because we know everything. That's how I got through algebra. I made straight A's in college algebra because I knew there was a part of me that knew all of it, even though consciously I didn't have any idea what the question was, much less the answer. Yes?
I just wanted to, on some level, I knew I was one with my chief shift officer because on my business cards, chief spiritual officer, on my business cards for my company Shift Bars, my title is CSO, Chief Shift Officer.
Wonderful, wonderful. Chief Shift Officer. So here we've got this idea that is a little bit of a game, but not really, because everything is already inside of us. So what difference does it make how we language it or wrap our heads around it or grok it? Whatever it is that we can do to get ourselves to move in our awareness into a greater level of acceptance of that which we choose to have, for me, works. You know, I don't care what word you use. I don't care how many steps you use. I don't care how you do it, as long as you do it. And as long as you get where you're going. And the proof of how, whether or not you're getting where you're going is, do you have what you want? Is things happening? Are things happening? Are things showing up in your lives? So you've got this this idea that says you're going to have a meeting every day. You're going to have a meeting every day, and she has a breakdown in there. It takes about half an hour. You're going to read something inspiring, and then you're going to have this meeting, and part of the meeting is writing your gratitude sheet. How many of you have been doing your meetings and your gratitude sheets? Wonderful. Your gratitude sheet is simply, instead of saying, I want this and this and this and this, you are grateful for already having it. I'm so grateful that the mortgages are paid off. I'm so grateful that I've got my beach house. I'm so grateful that I've got time with John. And it can be things that you do already have that you're grateful for, or it can be things that you're creating that you're grateful for. Now, what happens when you take it from, I want this, I really wish and hope that someday it might happen, to, I'm so grateful that I now have this or experience it? What happens? It changes the energy. Sets the intention.
Manifests.
Makes it happen.
Dee.
Yes. Sorry.
My first one Tuesday morning, the first one I wrote was, I love my job as the executive director at Brookdale, Asheville, Walden Ridge.
Yes.
And that afternoon was when I got the phone call, said, you look like you have really good, you had a good.
I love my job as
I love my
executive
job as
director
and I
of
was-
Brookdale, Asheville,
Walden Ridge.
Walden Ridge. And that translated in hours to $11,000. I want you to know that if you want to lose your job quickly, don't like it. Start complaining about it. If you want to get rid of people in your life, find fault with them. They will manage to leave. If you want to keep people, celebrate them. One of the things that John says to me almost every day, used to be every day, but now that he travels so much, sometimes it slips by. But he'll always say, have I told you today how much I love you? He says that it's been 25 years. He's still saying it every day. Have I told you today how much I love you? And I'll either say yes or no.
Chris says that and I say no every time, so she'll say it again.
It's wonderful. You want to stay in a relationship? Praise that person. See the good in them. If you want your kids to be the way you want them to be, don't lecture them on how to be that way. Celebrate that which they are and watch how it changes. But I do know that if you start complaining about your house or your job or your car or your friends, they won't stay. And there was two stories in the end of your reading tonight. One story, she said you should read it and then answer the questions. So one story was on page 20. A woman I knew asked me why she was poor when she used to be wealthy. She used to have a large, beautiful home and gorgeous things. She always had money to do whatever she wanted and appeared carefree. While living an affluent lifestyle, she began to complain about managing her 10,000 square foot home on the lake. She'd say, I'm sick and tired of having to care for everything and do so much for people. I wish I lived in a room like I had in college, where there was nothing to worry about. Within a few years, her life had changed dramatically, and she was living in a small apartment that she said was the size of her college room. She had talked herself into that small room with her words and beliefs. Pardon me? What?
Murphy.
What about Murphy's Law does that have to do with it? And let me just tell you, banish that, Murphy's Law. She created that by dissing what she had. You want a better car? Love the one you're in. You want a better bank account? Take better care of the one you have. Doing bank statements, balancing your bank account is not anti-spiritual. It's like the person who says, what do you mean I'm out of money? I still have checks. Take care of what you have and watch it grow. There's a quote in here from Oprah that says, what you are grateful for will grow. When you complain or criticize about something, you'll never have enough. So if you start focusing on what you don't have, or what someone else doesn't have, or what your job doesn't have, or what your phone doesn't have, then you will end up not having. Now that doesn't mean that you have to put up with things that aren't what you really want, but you start off with gratitude. You start off by saying, wow, I'm so glad that I have this wonderful cell phone. I love my cell phone, my new S6 cell phone. Oh yeah, I love my new cell phone. I'm so happy and grateful. Instead of, oh, this one doesn't work and I want to get the new one because it just came out and has all the bells and whistles. You see the difference in energy? You've got to monitor the energy that you're putting out, because that energy is bringing you into the universe that energy lives in. I don't want to say it attracts to you. That's a real easy definition, but that's not really how it works. You know, there are multiple universes going on here. There's a universe where you are in abject poverty, and there is a universe where you are richer than your wildest dreams. It's your choice which one you move into. And you move into it by what you think about, by how you speak it, by what you feel, by what you think is possible. You move into it by what you do. So when you are coming into alignment with that which you want, with joy and happiness and feeling fantastic, then that's the universe you move into. You don't have to create it. You don't have to attract it. It's right here. It's just, where do you choose to wake up in the morning? If you choose to wake up by going, well, that's the universe. You just opened up the door to it. You walk right in. I'm going to spend my day in this universe. If you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, life is so good. I'm so blessed. I am just so blessed. I get to have the best life ever. Then you open up that door and you walk into that universe. And that's where you get to live. And that universe has everything that you could ever possibly want already there. Sometimes I think I remember back in the 70s when I was reading, Seth Speaks. Anybody remember Seth? And they said that every morning as we awaken, we actually recreate the molecules or physical form of our life. And then quantum physics goes on to say that matter is not really solid, that half the time it's energy, and that it vacillates from being a wave to a particle to a wave to a particle to a wave to a particle in nanoseconds, and that what we do is that we catch one of the manifestations of particle and call it physical form. So since our reality, even in science, doesn't exist half the time, and we're just catching one of the manifestations, then which one are we going to catch? Oh, it's going to take so long to change. No, it isn't. It could have changed 1,000,000 times in the amount of time it took you to say that. Oh, this is going to take a long time to heal. No, it isn't. Because the particles are coming into form in nanoseconds. And somebody once wrote what a nanosecond was. It's like a gazillion in 1 second. So Seth is saying that we're actually recreating the molecules. Quantum physics says that half the time the space aspect of physical form doesn't exist. And then we get this idea also in quantum physics that says everything exists in potential, in possibility. And that what we do is we focus our awareness on that. They call it a packet of possibility. This is science. A packet of possibility. And when we focus our energy and attention on a packet of possibility, it collapses into form. That the physical form in your life is simply collapsed energy. It's going in and out in nanoseconds. And that we're building the molecules of our existence. So your question is, how am I building my life? What is it that I'm doing? What am I expecting? What am I accepting? What am I looking for? What am I noticing that is bringing that into form? The same way that this woman kept saying, I don't like my 10,000 square feet that well. They have higher staff, you know. I can take care of the higher staff. She talked that house right out of her life. And here's another story on the next page. It says, the first couple of days of attending the CSO meeting, Chief Spiritual Operator meeting, felt a bit like a chore. I had to wake up earlier than normal to fit the morning meeting into my schedule, and that made me tired by the end of the day. But I did it, and on the fourth day, I woke up before the alarm and looked forward to the meeting with my CSO. I felt more energized than I had the previous mornings, even though I'd gotten the same amount of sleep. I began to notice that I already had so much to be grateful for. Little demonstrations showed up, such as great parking spaces, new inquiries for our business, a coworker who appreciated some assistance, and a mention of our products in a trade magazine. I celebrated each one of these with my friends and employees. On the 5th day, this is 5 days, on the 5th day I received a $10,000 new order from a company we hadn't included in our prospect list. They said another customer had told them they could buy the products they needed from us. This increase was just what I wanted. What's the difference there? Gratitude. Doing it even if it seems, oh gee, man, now I gotta get a half hour less sleep? Yes. And on the 4th day, you won't even notice it, and then on the 5th day, you're gonna get a bunch of money. You start noticing. You start, pardon me? What?
I said 169 million.
169 million. You start noticing what is in your world, and as you do that, you're bringing forth the molecules of creation, the packets of possibility are collapsing into form because of what you're putting your attention on. So listen, if people are crabby around you, guess who's crabby? You are. It's not them, it's never them, it's always you. If people are wonderful around you, guess who's wonderful? You are. So if it flips, you're the one. And the wonderful thing about this is that you can change it through your focus, through your intention, through the feelings that you feel. You can talk yourself into joy with a simple gratitude list every morning. And those of you who are doing your gratitude list, how do you feel at the end of the gratitude list? Wonderful, wonderful. I actually love this Chief Spiritual Officer. Yes?
I did the gratitude list, and I had an epiphany this weekend because I realized I didn't do it Saturday, Sunday, and I realized it was because I was doing it as something to check off my to-do list. And so I really this morning said, no, this is like something I really want to enjoy and put effort into and like have it be a spiritual experience each morning and give myself that gift because it was coming from like a lack of time. Like, I've got to get this done and move on.
That's wonderful, Emily,
So,
but if you do your meeting and your gratitude list as you check off of your to-do list, I don't care. I just want you to do it because it'll catch on you. All of a sudden, you'll be starting to look forward to it. You're starting to do more than one a day. Oh my God, I had a second meeting. It was fantastic. Are you finding that you're getting intuition? Were you about to say something, Michael? You just about came out of your chair.
Well, yeah.
I got this fantastic idea, and I don't think I'm going to try to patent it, so I'm going to stay true to my nature and just put it out into the universe. But I just got this explosion in my brain a couple of days ago about having a system on a car with a Bluetooth, where your phone links to the Bluetooth. And once you're connected with the Bluetooth, the texting mechanism on your phone is shut down.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Isn't that a good idea?
Yes, that's a very good idea.
Yes, and if you're going to be on the Bluetooth, you physically can't text. The phone won't let you. And maybe it sends out an automated reply that says, Barbara's driving right now, she's on her Bluetooth, so if you want to call her, she'll talk to you, but the texting mechanism has been shut down.
ATT
This
does
area.
have,
Isn't that what?
ATT does have that, or it's called ATT Drive or something.
I know, but isn't that a wonderful idea? I don't think about these things. It just popped into my head. Pardon me? It already existed, great, and I was just tuned in. So open up to some of these thoughts that just pop into your head and don't go, oh, that was nothing. Say, hey, that was something. Boy, a couple couple of years ago, I would have been the first one to think about that. There is a universal mind of which you are a point. You're not a part, you're a point that contains all information, past, present, and future. And you have that ability. So if you have a question or a problem, sometimes I find that trying to figure it out in my head is the worst thing that I can do. And to simply be grateful for the solution or the answer and let it go to that part of me that already knows it. And then just pay attention. And I love what she says in this book about getting guidance. That if your guidance isn't clear, just ask for better guidance. It's like when people come up to me and says, Spirit gave me a message. Like, no, Spirit talks to me directly. Not taking secondhand messages. Just keep it to yourself. It's okay. If you're not happy with your guidance, if you don't really know, I kind of got a thing, maybe I should do this, but I'm not really sure, just ask for better guidance. Because it's all coming from you anyway. You know there's a you in your future that has already achieved this? Isn't that amazing, this whole thing about time and space? There is a you in your future that has already achieved everything that you want to achieve. And it's almost like it's reaching back into time and space to say, darling, this is the next step. I know you think it's crazy, but trust me, this is how we're going to do it. So come on, because we already did it. I'll hold your hand. It's going to be okay. And off you go. When you're open to that, when you get that you're connected to everybody, to everything, to every where, to every when, to every how, you get that that's already there, and so you can relax and stop trying to make it happen. Ernest Holmes in the Signs of Mind textbook says, if you're tired after you do a treatment, you're doing it wrong. You're trying to will it, trying to make it. You're trying to, there used to be a book for kids that was called The Big Me and the Little Me, and just for this conversation, I'll use those terms. You're trying to make it from your little you. Let go of how is it going to work so that I feel secure. And just trust that you've already got it handled. And if you want to call it something other than a chief spiritual officer, if you want to call it a higher self or something like that, that's fine. It's the discipline of getting the thoughts out there, of moving into gratitude, and then moving on. And of doing that every day, every day, every day, every day. That brings you into the place where you've just moved into the universe that's got all the stuff you want. And when you do that, whether or not it feels a little dualistic or not, when you do that, things happen. And things are happening in this class. This is the most we've ever had on the first night of things that have demonstrated. So keep in mind, in other years, we had the lottery won, we had houses, cars. Who knows what you're going to do? Because you've already started off going really fast. Not only has the train left the station, but we are moving. Or you can have papers floating around all you want. I don't care. Page 14. Page 14. Why do we commit? Commit to your good. For goodness sake, people can be so wimpy. I want to have more. No, you don't. If you did, you would do something. People say, oh, I've come to your classes. I already took that prosperity class. Well, if you're not rich, you didn't get it. Well, I read that book. I don't need that. So how's your life? You want to make a commitment to your good. You want to do whatever you need to do to change the limitations that you put on you. Nobody's limiting you but you. If you really want to have it all, then you've got to move into a state within you of having it all. And that means you've got to stop having less. You've got to stop telling yourself no. And for me, it took a bit of work to do that. To listen to my thoughts, to challenge, to question what I was thinking. Well, where did that come from? Well, why does that sound like my mother? Oh my God. money doesn't grow on trees, you're too big for your britches, you shouldn't try that, you should just sit down and be quiet. What is that doing in my head still? To challenge that, to look at it, to say, that's not me, I don't want to live that way. I'm going to turn that around and then have the wherewithal to say it out loud different. To do it different. I don't care if you're in your shower. I deserve to be rich. I am blessed already. I am God informed as me. I get to have it all. I'm supposed to have it all. I have a job to have it all. I think we have a spiritual obligation to every being on this planet to have it all. If we can't have it all, in the United States of America, in Asheville, North Carolina, at the Center for Spiritual Living in the year 2015, if we cannot have it all, then what hope is there for the woman in Ethiopia with 12 kids? It is our job to have that jump in consciousness so that we can lift everybody up. It is never okay for anyone to be struggling or suffering or to be hurting. And if we agree to that by saying, oh yeah, man, I know it's hard for you, it's hard for me here in Asheville. Ernest calls that malpractice. And we have a job to prosper. We have an obligation to the rest of humanity to be rich. Not to just let the gold and the money stay in banks somewhere, but to have it circulate through our lives. And then as we have more than enough, let's go do something fantastic for somebody. Let's go have a wonderful experience. Let's give money away. Let's do things, not in a codependent, victimization, rescuer kind of thing, but in a way that really does lift people up. Let's do that. But you can't do that if you can't pay your rent. If you don't have gas money, you can't do that if you are worried about how you're going to get by. And my job, if you do choose to stay in this class, my job is to push you into the magnificence that you are so that you can look at your life and go, of course I can do this. Of course I can have this. Of course we can do this. Of course you can. You're freaking God in form. Oh, God can't have another beautiful sunrise. God had a sunrise yesterday. You know, so many sunrises can go out. That's absurd. So what you get to do is you get to have the most beautiful sunrise, the best day ever, day after day after day after day. Questions or comments? Take out what you're going to give. Yes?
There is an app called Our Creator, and you can type in
You Are Creators app. Type in your affirmations and then it gives it to you during the day. Wonderful, wonderful. Pick out what you're going to give. Those of you who got up and shared. Those of you who got up and shared, you've got 10% tithe coming out. Don't wait to tithe. Set spiritual law in motion. Pick out what you're going to give. This class is offered on a love offering. I appreciate the love, but this part's about money. Give your money out of a sense of fullness. There is more than enough. It is trying to track you down. Give your money out of a sense of abundance and watch how that sets spiritual law in motion. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready to have more than enough money?
Yes.
Are you ready to do what you want to do?
Yes.
Are you ready to buy what you want to buy?
Yes.
Go where you want to go?
Yes.
Have what you want to have?
Yes.
Be who you are meant to be?
Yes.
And get up out of your chairs and just say out Reason for Prosperity together aloud.
I know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes
go by, put your checks, your envelopes, your pieces of this green brochure that have your name on it. Keep the part that has the treatment. That's your job. And breathe it in, because there is gold dust in this air. There is money. There is opportunity. There are ideas. Oh, you're not going to sit down so quickly. There are ideas. There are things that are happening to you in your life right now. But you absolutely know that you've got to accept it. You've got to take it. You've got to be the one to say yes. So, one more time, are you really ready? Yes! Are you ready to take what life has for you? Yes! Are you ready to accept the blessings of God itself? Yes! One more time to take it out the door.
I surely know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
I love you guys. Have a great week.